Hi everyone, welcome to our June Inspire Talk. It's the first in our new series that we're calling Making the Difference, and we're exploring making as a tool of social change. And today we're going to be in conversation with some of the people who've dedicated their time in recent months to the local coronavirus response in Bristol. So developing crucial PPE and other protective equipment for key workers in health, care, and other sectors that require additional protection from the virus. So I'm Fee. I'm one of the technicians at the factory and a lead on the training skills there. So the factory, we offer a range of commercial services, so laser and CNC cutting, product design, prototyping, that kind of thing. We also have a variety of training and skills development opportunities and a membership program for those looking to access the equipment themselves and become part of our vibrant community of creatives and makers. So today we've got with us Joe Simmons, an independent face shield production coordinator, Simon Hall of Airway Medical, and Paul and Ed from Hack the Pandemic. So firstly, do you each want to just give us a bit of an intro about what it is you've been doing, talk about your kind of materials and processes, and if you are able to, maybe give us a glimpse of your working space, but I appreciate it's not possible for all of you. Maybe we start with Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe. We had a group of me and 20 volunteers, and we did acetate and foam and elastic face visors. We just started when the pandemic started, really as a response of something to do, sort of a reaction. We ended up making about 3,000 of these in the end, the last 200 going out last week. We went to residential care homes, hospitals, hospices, and sort of residential support and care. That's sort of 6-7 weeks work between us. And I work in film and TV in the props sort of set design department. So I'm sort of used to producing things quickly with sort of this urgency. So that's what we did. We have a really brilliant team. Friends and friends of friends have helped. So that's what we did.
Brilliant, thanks Joe. How about Simon? Do you want to give us an introduction? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys. So I'm Simon from Airway Medical. So I'm a little startup business based in Knoll West, and I've come up with an idea that's patent pending now for airway suction. Airway suction's used in a COVID sense pre-ITU. So these are people that are still conscious, and it's important to keep the airway clear of mucus and sputum because that's the incubator for the virus. And so they use airway suction for that. I was actually working before coronavirus on a little portable device that I've devised, and that was fairly well developed. And then really some friends said to me, well, is there anything that can be done with coronavirus? And because it's portable, there wasn't really. I was aware of patients in hospitals, but I couldn't really see a place for it. And then I started to think back to the first principles where I'd started the whole project from. And we were looking at little 3D printed devices. So you can see there, that's Mark 1. And this is basically a similar device. What I came up with was this is what they use as the primary suction in hospitals. And I've come up with a device now that looks very similar, but uses a completely different system within the hospital to provide a backup. So if this one fails, they've now got this one as a backup, and it can be used in seconds. So they take this little tube off the bottom of here, which is it's not actually that tube, but a tube like it, and they'll be able to connect it straight into this system, and they'll be able to carry on suctioning the patient. What they have to do at the moment is run off and find one of these beasties, which could be in a store cupboard or somewhere. And if they need to use it between patients, they've actually got to decontaminate the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of consumables that go with it. They've got to chuck all of that away, put new consumables on, and then they can go to the next patient. So we're talking minutes, actually, when somebody could potentially be choking to death. So the great thing with this was that they could use it within seconds. And because it looks fairly similar to what they're using already, the clinicians should be able to utilize it very, very quickly as well. So that was the whole premise behind it. To fund it, I'm self-funding at the moment. I can't afford to make these things. So we did a crowdfund, and that's achieved £10,000, which was amazing. To be honest, most of that's come from badgering friends and family. So I've actually got now a Bristol University intern working with me during the summer, and she's tasked with raising another 10,000 from people I don't actually know. So that's the next stage of the project, running alongside actually starting to produce these and put them out into hospitals. So that's me.
Great, thank you. And then Hack the Pandemic. Ed and Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hi there, yeah. I'm Paul Haynes from Hack the Pandemic, and that's Ed. We produce 3D printed, got to word this carefully, face shielding, which to help in transmission. Ed, do you have a band in front of you?
Yes, I do indeed. So here you guys can see on my 3, currently making the latest version as well. The way this works is you place a piece of acetate or PVC sheeting through the hole punch, through the punches across the top, and it clips on, giving you an entire face covering.
Thanks, mate. So we've produced, I believe we are just over 10,000 units, and these have gone to many different places like healthcare, hospitals. We've even started opening it up to teachers now due to them potentially going back soon. We've opened up the option for teachers to produce it, to get these now. We don't charge anything for these. We give these away completely free, and we are also self-funded through a crowdfunding system. We've managed to raise, I believe, Ed, it's around about 17,000 now.
It's closer to 18,000 at the moment.
Yeah. So we're currently fighting with the government to be able to produce these again for NHS. We're doing quite well with that. We're actively working with them now to produce a standardised band that the whole community can use, that are 3D printing different types of bands. So yeah, that's us at Hack the Pandemic.
It's probably important to also say that while the cottage industry is very much up and going, we do have a factory facility over in Emerson's Green, which is 2 floors. We have about 25 people who work there every Saturday. We were doing Wednesdays as well, which we are looking to redo again once we get the certification issue sorted. But yeah, it's a very smooth production line system with triple sanitization, all of our products, and of course a collection point, packaging areas, and a massive network of people doing deliveries as well.
Yeah, we've been very lucky.
Yeah. Some of the kit over there as well, we have made our own custom built equipment. For example, a machine that does the sanitization side. So I'm an electronics designer. So this here is a PCB called the COVID Bustuino, which is designed to be able to, well, it's pretty much generic. It can be used for our sanitization processes, or our UV conveyor belts, all kinds of things, even ultraviolet curing boxes that we're working with for our resin printers.
Great, thank you. So I'd be interested to know a bit more about kind of what motivated you all to kind of get into what you're doing now. Like maybe if we start with Joe, I mean, so you've turned your sort of home and garden into your production line, and what was your kind of thinking before about doing that, and like how has that process gone? Have you found challenges having it kind of in your home environment and things like that?
I suppose it was just an emergency response. Like this was sort of an emergency. It's a pandemic, and so I just started at home. I think I first of all looked where I could volunteer, and I contacted a few people, and I thought about sewing the mouth mask, but I don't really love using the sewing machine. So I looked into visors, and a lady called Dee Moxon was already making the visors in Bristol. So I asked if I could help. And she said, well, if you start your own one, this is the link to where you get the acetate, where you get the foam, where you get the elastic. So yeah, it was just making some at home to start, and friends Jude's and Zoe's and friend Aracelli's, and from there posting the fundraiser, to which some friends of friends and friends said, can I help, can I help? And then, yeah, I guess it couldn't have ever expanded beyond maybe 20 volunteers, because we were using gardens, lounges, bedrooms, things like that, and the logistics of that, getting the materials to people's houses, getting the materials delivered here, social distancing. Yeah, it was nice to work within a community of friends during this time, and all work so efficiently together, whilst being in different houses. So yeah, it's something really special actually.
That's great. So it sounds like it's really sort of bringing communities together. I mean, how about you, Hack the Pandemic? How have you kind of come to find your volunteers, and like where did you manage to set up all your equipment?
Very much.
I'm so sorry, you actually broke up there. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, would you mind repeating the question, please? There's a bit of an internet glitch there.
As Ed's breaking up a little bit, I'll answer that question. So very much the same as the other face visors. We all came together as a necessity, really. We originally started out, there was just the four of us, and we had a target of about 100 bands per week delivered to healthcare. Over the weeks, we managed to sort of pull in other people with printers. Everyone's got their printers at home as well, so very much like the issue you're having as well of bringing everything together. Like I said, we started off with 4 printers. We now have, at the last count, I believe it's just under 100 people printing these bands at home. We have collection, whereby people go and pick them up from just outside their house and bring them to the factory, where they go through the sanitization process. So again, very much started up just because of the need, and there's no plan to continue this after. You know, once this is all over, we're kind of hoping to go back to our real jobs.
Any idea when that would be, or are you just kind of looking to continue for?
We're looking to continue until the need's no longer there. We do have a close down plan. It's forever evolving. So we've had things like printers donated to us as well, from companies to keep us going. The printers we will be donating them to schools, places like this, for example, just to try and help out. So the close down plan is effectively sort of ever evolving. Really, we just have to meet the demand where possible.
Simon, what about you? Is this
probably worth it with the that we.
Go on, Ed. Go on. Do you want to just finish?
I was going to say that any money left over at the end of this, or anything sold off internally, etc., that money we intend to give it to the Mental Health Trust Fund for the NHS, who will be suffering from PTSD and other psychological problems after this dreadful pandemic.
Thanks for mentioning that.
That's really great. Yeah, Simon, I guess your situation is maybe a little bit different. You're obviously not making the kind of face shields and stuff. It's more of a engineering thing. And you're set up in your garage in Knoll West, is that right? And how have you found kind of working with the NHS and getting your device kind of used in the hospitals?
Okay, so I mean, my background is I've worked with the NHS for about 35 years in the private sector, but certainly working very close with them, and I've utilised some of those links with the NHS. I mean, I don't know if people can see what's behind me, but it's basically a massive whiteboard, and the whole premise behind the thing is a not-for-profit venture. We're trying to supply these to the NHS for nothing. And that's where the crowdfund came in. You know, I can't afford to supply them for nothing. And all the people you see behind you are experts in their field. Some of these are very, you know, either net high worth individuals or well-paid individuals. And there's just people like me, you know, that have a 3-bed semi somewhere, but are particularly good at doing something. And so I've scribbled them all down on there just to keep track of what's going on. And we're all going towards the center here, which is it's called the CAMZOO. And like I say, the crowdfund, we're intending to supply up to 1,000 of these things free of charge. to try and get it to market quick, I call it market, is we're 3D printing these on it's called an SLA printer, so it's probably slightly different to the ones the guys are using, which would be an FDM, I'm guessing. Yeah. Because it's a medical device, it's called a Class 2A medical device. There's a lot of regulation to get through. Face masks are generally Class 1, and I appreciate you've probably had a bit of a battle on your hands, but believe me, I've got a war. And so I've got a regulatory advisor in place, and again, she's providing her time free of charge. She's extraordinarily busy at the moment. There's a lot going on in the medical field, as you can imagine, and she's very kindly donating her time to me, who's kind of the mad professor in the whole thing. You know, I've invented this device, and I was starting to develop a business, but I'm not a businessman, and so I'm really having to learn very quickly. And what I've managed to learn as well is to delegate responsibilities to people that know what they're doing, and that's been fundamental to the success so far. We've not actually supplied any to the NHS at the moment. One of the blocks really is the regulatory requirements and how we're going to get around that. The company has to be registered to certain compliances which aren't in place. So one of the things I'm looking to do is use a company that is compliant and almost like a joint venture partnership. So they understand they can print these, but there'll be no intellectual property thereafter, if you like. So they'll be printing these. We'll agree that they can print them, but thereafter, if they want to continue a commercial relationship, because at the end of the day, this business will carry on. This business will become a commercial enterprise. You know, there's lots of things to look forwards to, but at the moment we're focusing. It's not for profit. It's all about trying to get these devices into the NHS, because what will happen is if this system goes down, at the moment it's taking them minutes to get hold of the device that will actually provide the backup. And then, like I say, if they've got to use it on another patient, it's taking 10 minutes to decontaminate it, change everything over and start to use it again. With this, it's literally seconds. So it's a game changer in some ways. And yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing what the other people are doing in this seminar. I think it's amazing, and it's really quite inspiring to me. So it's called an Inspire Talk, and actually I find what you've been doing is really inspiring, not least because you're actually providing product and you've done it so quickly, and you know, you've had to leap hurdles, and that keeps me going, because I've got a lot of hurdles to leap over, and it's quite nice to see that it's actually achievable, because sometimes I don't believe it's going to happen, and then I see what people like yourselves have managed to do, and it just inspires me to keep going, because there have been times where I've thought, what on earth am I doing? You know, I'm not making any money out of this. I'm spending my own money, in fact, at the moment, just trying to keep things going, and it can get quite difficult. So, you know, thanks to you, and obviously there are other people throughout the UK, just an incredible collective effort, and it's a really lovely thing to see. And I hope, although you say your venture is closing down with the face masks, that things like this will change everybody's perspective in the future about, you know, just look out for each other a little bit more. I think it's really important.
That's great. Yeah, it's really inspiring to see how much you've all dedicated your time and resources to such an important cause, and yeah, with no profit and having to rely on donations and volunteers and everything. I can imagine it hasn't been easy. And you mentioned overcoming hurdles and yeah, sort of guidelines and restrictions and things.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul, did you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'll try to explain. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, the government released a statement or a document stating that these need to go through a CE certification for BSI. The statement or document that was released effectively closed every single producer of the 3D printed bands, and we're talking that there's many groups, some much bigger than us, some much smaller than us, but all combined to do the same effort, and it's just to help people. And this government document that came out just completely shut that down overnight. So as you can imagine, we were all very upset, but very frustrated. Since then, I've been quite lucky. We've got some good contacts, and we've managed to get in touch with this governing body that released the document. But we're now actively working with them to produce a design that we can release completely open source so that everyone can produce it. Initially, the biggest hit for us was the fact that we needed to pay £5,000 to have this certified. As you can, I know it's crazy. As you can imagine, for a non-profit, myself and Ed, we completely funded this for, I believe it was 8 weeks off of our credit cards before we could get any money out of Just Giving and all this stuff. And to get hit with a £5,000 bill, it's effectively a tax on helping people, and it really, really frustrated us, as you can imagine. But we're now in a good place. We are able to. So we've been in touch with trading standards. Trading standards have been absolutely fantastic in helping us. We can now produce these as, I've got to be careful of the word.
Coverings.
Face coverings, thank you, Ed. We consider these as face coverings, not PPE, to the public. We're still not able to give them to the medical industry as of yet, but that is what we're working very closely with the government on doing. And just thought I'd say one thing, they're also paying for the certification, which is a big bonus. I know, big wow. We've had a lot of conversations with them. We had a lot of arguments with them. Me and Ed are very, very tenacious, and we just weren't going to let them win. It's that simple. We weren't going to let them win, so we just kept fighting. We're doing well at the moment. We're getting there.
We did have to go a bit neat, to be honest. It got to the point where I was having email conversations with BSI, and I got their permission to forward the email to a few people. They didn't realise that the few people happened to be reporters and media outlets, a few MPs. It really went nuclear, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
BSI no longer actually responds to my emails, which is quite funny.
It is quite amusing. I have to speak to them now, so thanks for that, Ed. But yeah.
Delegation.
Delegation.
Joe, how about you? Have you been experiencing some of the same sort of challenges? Sorry, Joe. Joe, did you want to say a bit about how you've been dealing with the same challenges or the other challenges? I think you're on mute. Sorry, you just want to.
I'm not sure if Joe can hear you.
Oh. There we go, Joe. I think. Oh, off. Yeah, you're off mute now, I think.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, challenges, I guess, has been the same, like bureaucracy. But we've just sort of got them straight out to. Initially, it was hospitals, so NHS in the first 2 weeks, and then more care homes and charities, support charities. But yeah, I guess other hurdles has just been constant sort of logistics, like accounting, balance with doing it as fast as possible, balance with getting materials in, getting them out, constant communication with WhatsApp group, getting people to collect materials from me, getting them out to them, and trying to do it as quickly as possible, but sort of calmly as well. And yeah, I think what we found easiest was to just take them straight to places where we thought they could be used, rather than sort of systems where we had to sometimes email centralized system to explain like the materials. They wanted specs, they wanted things like that. Whereas ours were just sort of DIY elastic foam acetate, and we've explained that. So so that's a bit frustrating because ours was more of a just initial emergency response, and so that's been a sort of hurdle. And then a couple of weeks ago was the certification, which the £5,000 isn't something that we could have covered. We were all sort of self-funded, and yeah, raised about three grand in the end for about 3,000 visors. So yeah, we're just pleased that pandemic managed to make some progress with that certification.
Joe, sorry, I know you're producing the foam banner. The group that we've joined with the government group that we've joined, there are other groups in there producing the same device as you. So I think it would be good for you to jump in if we catch up after this, we'll jump into the group and hopefully you can still produce with the documents that they're providing.
Okay, yeah, that's something I've considered, although I know ours aren't really wipe clean in the same way. So, but yeah, I'd definitely like to chat to you afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be good.
And I guess just maybe one last question from me to Joe and then maybe the others. Like how have you found actually the distribution side of things and like working out who to get stuff to? Because here at the factory we so my colleague Chris was 3D printing some of the visor things right at the start of it, and was one of the challenges seemed to be actually how to know who needs it and how to get it to them, and just tell me a bit more about that.
I think, funnily enough, for me, my first thoughts before starting this was getting them to supermarket workers, because I was thinking they're so exposed, hands and face and things like that. But then I spoke to my friend Caroline, who's a nurse, and she sort of said she'd been to A&E with her son, and they had sort of no safe masks, and her department had no masks, they had gloves and goggles, but it just seemed like face coverings would be the best shield. Yeah, so it's starting with that really. Going from there.
Any other comments on the slide of distribution for the rest of you?
I guess we've had a lot of issues with distribution, as you can imagine, because we've got our makers are sort of all the way around the Bath and Bristol area. So effectively, these are being produced on home printers, whether it be FDM printers or we do have some SLA elements as well. But yeah, it's getting everything together. So like, we decided the best thing to do was to open up a centralised location, and Emerson's Green Village Hall has facilitated that. They have a clean space for us and 2 floors. So we've been quite lucky, whereby we've managed to sort of pull the logistics together quite well. So initially we didn't, we had some issues, but we managed to fix that within the first couple of days. We were quite lucky there.
Right. So I'm going to move on to some of the questions that are coming through YouTube from our community. The first one's a silly question for Paul, slightly off topic, but who is your favourite Ghostbusters character in reference to it?
Sorry, I just put a random T-shirt on this morning. Well, it's got to be Slime, hasn't it?
Great. Right, let's have a look. So someone was asking about the recent change in BSI standards, so I think we've covered quite a lot about that. We've got a question to hack the pandemic. Can you talk more about your sanitisation process?
Certainly. I'll let Ed cover that one, because that's kind of more his remit.
Right.
I'm afraid I didn't actually hear the question. It glitched on me. Someone repeat it.
Sanitisation process, Ed. What's our sanitisation process?
Yeah, certainly. So items are, of course, freeze. So let's say this doormate, for example. This will then be taken into our factory and stress tested before being placed on a table underneath 8 minutes of ultraviolet light. You generally leave it there for about 5 minutes. 1.5 minutes is the US CDC's time they said will kill COVID-19. But we leave it about 5 minutes to the other side as well. Same goes for the bands and the doormates, and all the same. From there, they're then put into a commercial kitchen where they are scrubbed down with fairy liquid or similar, and then from there dipped in medical grade 80% alcohol before being hung up to dry and drip dried and being packaged.
Brilliant. Thank you. Joe, have you got a similar process, or like how do you do yours? Sorry, you're on mute again. Just on mute. There you go. Oh no, back on mute. Maybe there's a delay on it. There we go. Oh no. Yes. Yeah, go. Yeah, do you want to? Oh. No, can't hear you anymore for some reason. No, sound's gone, I'm afraid. Not sure what's happened there. Okay, we'll try come back to you. Maybe you want to mute again and see if it'll figure itself out. Simon, there's a couple of questions for you. So with your, it says interesting product, what is the need? Do the hospital's suction devices fail frequently?
No, they don't really. They're generally, you know, these devices have you know, they're pretty robust. They've got a filter on that protects them, and the pipeline systems are maintained on a regular basis. So no, they don't fail very often, but when they do, it's crucial. If you think about the ABC of resuscitation, the very first thing is airway. You know, if you need to clear an airway, you need something to be able to do that. So when these do fail, I mean, I haven't got stats or anything like that, but because I've been involved in the industry a long time, I've been to coroners' courts and so on, where these things have failed, and then they've run off to get one of these, and for some reason this has failed as well. And it can be something as stupid as somebody thought it was plugged in, and it's not. It's got a battery on there, and the battery's no longer working. You know, really stupid things like that. So in terms of how often do they fail? It's very infrequently actually, but that's kind of not the point. It's when they do fail, they need something that's guaranteed to work, because if they don't, then the outcome for the patient is pretty grave, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. So there's a couple of questions that kind of to everyone really. The first one, it says afterwards, no judgment, desperate times and all that, but how sustainable are your materials? I don't know if anyone wants to go first on that one.
Okay, I'm happy to answer that one on behalf of the pandemic, if you want. So for us, we use PLA plastic, which is 100% biodegradable. It is plant-based. We also have taken steps to recycle any misprints, any versions that are previous versions that we can't use. So ideally, there'll be no wastage, completely biodegradable, and no problems there. Unfortunately, the PVC sheeting that we use for the visors or face coverings, I can't say the same for the PVC sheeting. I can, however, say that our factory facility runs off a 10 kilowatt Tesla Powerwall, and it's all solar powered. So all energy used at the factory facility is completely free and solar, basically. Yeah, anyone else want to answer?
That's amazing. Simon or Joe, anything to add?
Yes, can you hear me now? I was trying to mute, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the company was really started back in June last year, and we, you know, it was moving towards a commercial product, and very much part of that was the environmental considerations and also the well-being of the employees. So that's been fundamental to my business plan. So just going back to this device, there's a couple of ideas behind the whole thing, and nothing's in concrete at the moment. So this cap on top of here is actually injection moldable, and that's where we were going. And there's some great products out there made from rice husk waste and all sorts of things that are biodegradable that this could potentially use. Because it's a medical device, you have to be very, very careful. It's a class 2A medical device. You have to be very careful about what types of materials you use. We're also intending to use something called graphene. Graphene's got amazing properties. The one that's really, really interesting to the medical devices that I'll be producing is that it kills viruses and bacteria stone dead. They touch it and it kills them. Now, these devices that I'm producing, I'm talking to the only manufacturer that's regulated to produce graphene in the world. These devices will be the first devices to utilize that product on them, which potentially could allow us to use biodegradable plastics, because one of the things with biodegradable plastics is very hard to decontaminate them once they're in a hospital environment, because of the types of wipes they use and the types of products they use to kill. So say it's got blood all over it or something like that, they need to get rid of that. They can't use something that's environmentally friendly sometimes, and that would kill the plastic. It would destroy the product completely. But with this graphene properties, that takes away the decontamination risk, because if anything does touch it, it will kill it immediately. And if it needs washing, again, it's protected by graphene. Graphene's got some amazing properties. So it's quite an exciting development in terms of what, and this has all really come through the campsu. And this is where one of the lovely things about companies like mine, you know, I'm trying to do right by the world, if you like, but behind it all, there is going to be a commercial opportunity, which, you know, will come in the future. And companies, although they're providing the time at the moment, they can see that there are commercial opportunities behind it, but they absolutely have to come on board with the environmental considerations. The well-being of the employees is fundamental to the business plan, and if they're not, then they're not going to be part of what we're going to do.
So lots to consider. Good that
yeah, sorry, long answer.
No, it's great. Joe, I don't know if you want to add anything, or is your sound working?
Yes. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Not very sustainable, but it was always meant as like a short-term project as a response. Although we did do quite a lot of batches with experimenting with a more reusable design. So we used acetate strips instead of foam, and reusable thinner elastic that you could retie. We provided new pieces because we thought they would be more reusable, but without a 3D printer or sort of a plastic that's white clean, as were sort of with fabric, which is less reusable, and the nature of acetate being plastic. So that was a concern of mine, and some others in the group were quite environmentally conscious. But yeah, it was never, the project was never designed to be sort of long term. So in terms of health and the virus, it was more of a response. In answer to your sanitisation question, we wipe cleaned everything with the 80% alcohol sanitisation gel. We were quite conscious of that, and then we wrapped it using gloves, wearing masks in brown paper, so packages of 10 or 20, or depending on the demand. So we were as conscious of it as possible. Previous question.
Yeah, great, thank you. So there's a few kind of more specific questions about 3D printing. So we've got, which model have you been printing, Paul and Ed? Looks like the 3D Verstaken. How different is the design you agree with the government likely to be?
So I think so the Verkston design was one of the first designs that came out in response to COVID. The Verkston design is an amazing design. However, we made some changes. So primarily, I'm not sure if you see this. So primarily, the changes were to allow for more flexibility in our bands. So we've added extra curvatures and supports here. This is a slightly older design, but we've added some additional elements to the pegs to retain the acetate sheets, and we've also added chamfers at the sides to again hold the acetate sheets. And this was from feedback we got from the hospitals when people saw bending over, the acetate sheet would possibly hit on the chest and pop off. So we made quite a lot of changes. Primarily from a design perspective, it's the toolpathing. So the Bergson design did kind of jump all over the place, and it had some issues with toolpathing. So we refined the toolpathing. That brought the timing down from 45 minutes per band to 27 minutes. So quite a lot of change, really. So it's more to speed up the production and allow stacking, etc.
If I may add to that as well, I'm holding now. This is not the band going for C certification. It's the model just before that, but it's slightly thicker. The idea is that it can break surface in contact with your head, producing things like stress headaches. You can see the little chamfers there that cut through the holes that Paul was talking about, and the nice curve there.
And as you can see with the one Ed's produced, it's 10 mil high, which meets the government guidelines. But also we've managed to design it so it still uses only 2 grams more material than the original thinner version that I have here. So yeah, we're continually evolving our designs to make them more comfortable, more sustainable, and yeah.
Great, And so I've got a few questions that are kind of about next steps, which I'll come on to in just a sec, but just a couple more about kind of 3D printing specifically, aimed at the pandemic. So I'm going to put two questions into one here. Do your network of 3D printers self-fund their own materials, or do you provide these? And how long does it take to print one visor, and do you print more than one at a time?
I'll grab this one.
Okay.
So regarding the print times, we've, like I said, by amending the toolpaths, we've managed to greatly reduce the time in what it takes to print. The new design takes about an extra 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the printer. Now, different printers can run at different speeds. So, average band, we're looking at about 45 minutes on the new design. And sorry, what was your first question again?
It said something about, do your network of 3D printers self-fund, so the people doing the printing?
So we've always stated that we will try and help out with material. We do have a crowdfunding. The crowdfunding is for material, so we do kick back material where possible. I know there are some groups out there that are paying people for their bands. We've never promised that we would give material, but we do have a lot of material in stock at the moment. Now our funding's come through, so we're able to kick back and provide material for our network of people that are printing at the moment. So yes, we are helping out as much as possible, and that's what our crowdfunding is for.
If I may also add to that as well. So yes, it is correct, of course, that we do consider any plastic or products they give as a donation. I believe it's about 550 kilograms of PLA plastic that has been through us or is currently in stock. We have quite a few more 100 kilos on the way. We just want to get the CE stuff sorted out and hoard a bit of the material so that way we can go for the big push at the end.
Correct.
Brilliant. So I'm going to ask Joe, are you still making the face shields? Oh, yeah, making the face shielding, and are you continuing to make and distribute now? And do you still need volunteers?
We think we've come to an end. It's very hard, obviously, because it's an ever-changing thing. We don't know if there'll be a second wave or if it's dying out. We got the last 200 out over the past week. So some of the team delivered, which I didn't really answer the question about delivery, but between the team, we've arranged who can drive and take them direct to places. But some of the last ones went out yesterday. I was planning to help with Hack the Pandemic. I was going to maybe visit Paul this afternoon, just because I think their design is obviously better, it's a bit more reusable. But I wouldn't rule out doing some more. I think getting the funding, because it's all self-funded, has been. We've got so many donations. The last bit's been a bit of a challenge as sort of the urgency wears off a bit. But I wouldn't rule it out.
Cool. And Ed and Polly, I guess you are still taking volunteers and still producing at the moment, it sounds like.
Very much so. Yeah, we're very much so. We're focusing on the Doormate at the moment, which is a infection control device. I don't actually have one on me at the moment, but I'm sure Ed will be prepared.
Yes, indeed. I've got one right here. Yeah. What I will also say is if somebody does want to sign up to join us and be a maker, driver, production line worker, whatever, just hop onto hackthepandemic.co.uk and register with us. There are forms and you can describe exactly what you want to do. Yeah, right. Sorry, but yes, this is the device. You can push doors open, etc. Use this surface to push buttons or, for example, credit card machines. I got some funny looks using that in Tesco's yesterday, but it's all right. And of course, the hook is for door handles. The idea is it goes on a lanyard around your neck. This is version 1. Version 2 has been released today. Hopefully, the next versions. Yep, about an hour ago. We are hoping that the next on touch screens like iPads, whatever, and of course an ID card holder if we can fix it all together. But getting an ID card holder might be a bit tricky at the moment.
Cool. That's good. And Simon, what about you? What are your sort of next steps, or where do you go from here, and what kind of support could people give? Is it fundraising mostly? By the sound of it.
Well, like I said, I've taken on a lovely intern called Rosie from University of Bristol, and she's raising the profile of the company. It's something I'm not particularly used to. I'm not particularly digitally techy, if you like, bit more old school. But she's really switched on, and she just started yesterday. So I've given her some tasks to do. One of which is to raise crowdfunding money through the crowdfunder, which is www.crowdfunder.co.uk/COVID-19 airway medical suction unit. I'm sorry it's so long, but that's the way it is. But the other thing is to raise the profile of the company through media and so on. So I know Hack the Pandemic have particularly had a lot of success with that, and it's something I want to explore a little bit more. But I've just not had the time. I've been focusing on the technical aspects really. In terms of the device itself, well, this is a kind of very early pre-production prototype, and I've now engaged a company to produce 10 of these on their very nice 3D printers. I've just got a cheap hobby one at home, and I've ordered in componentry via the crowdfunder. So I've got a whole bundle of gauges arriving. And there's a little probe on the back that plugs into the wall outlet in the hospital. This has to be made to a specific specification, so I have to buy those in. I've got no choice, and the crowdfunders allowed me to do that. So yeah, they're the next steps really, and there is the regulatory requirements as well. We send a couple of these off with a huge technical file of about 80 or 90 pages worth of stuff, and just hope they say yes. If they don't, then well, I mean, the plan really then is to look at other countries that perhaps haven't got quite such an onerous system. Particularly in the UK, they seem to like creating hurdles, if you like. Other countries are a little bit more open to innovation, I would say, and so would explore those instead. A bit like the guys with Hack the Pandemic. If for some reason this doesn't come off, then the money will go to some other cause. It may even be Hack the Pandemic. I haven't really thought about that. I'm just focusing on trying to get the job done at the moment.
If you need any help with the media, myself and Ed will more than happily assist in any way we can. We're happy to help out in any way we can.
Okay, can I put you in touch with Rosie then? Because I think that would be really helpful for her. Yeah, lovely guys. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We're all fighting for the same goal, so
we are.
We are. Possible. Yeah, I'm sure Ed will completely agree with that.
Well, that's really great.
Thank you.
To make the link and hopefully pushing this forward as a unified team, fighting all the regulations wherever necessary.
Yeah.
Well, going along with. Right, we've got a couple more questions popping up. I've got one very specific question that's kind of off the back of what we were just talking about. Saying, Hack the Pandemic, if you release a certified design specification and our face covering group made them, would we be able to distribute with the CE Mark II, or would we also need ours to be BSI tested?
So I can answer that one. So we're actually working with BSI and the governing bodies to release this as an open source design. It's not going to be just for us. We're trying to do this for everybody. So yes, that is our actual goal, is to get this produced so that every group can produce this and not just us. So yeah, we're working very hard to help the whole industry. It's not about us. Like I just explained then, we're doing this for a common goal, not to sort of self-gratify ourselves. This is about everyone trying to help out. So yeah, for everyone.
If I may add again, on our website, there is a section about starting your own group. We have open sourced and given out all of our sanitization processes, how we do it, down to every single detail. You are more than welcome to take what we've done and learn from it as much as you want. We're actually working with a group in California. We have designed a Imperial Punch version, which they're now producing. We've got another group coming online over in Brazil at some point soon. Yeah, there are no borders when it comes to COVID, put it that way.
Yeah, like Ed said, we are completely open source, and we will release everything, and we will help in any way we possibly can.
Brilliant. And yeah, someone was asking about sharing links. I'll make sure I put up a slide at the end of this with the links, and we'll also send them out via email, so you've got all the links to what everyone's doing. So a couple of other questions, and then I'll probably wrap up. So are the door openers or button pusher devices available for sale for non-medical people?
We don't sell any of our products. No, they're not available for sale. They're available, and we will happily give them to you, but we will not sell our products.
Goes with all your ethos. And then for both the airway suction device and the face shields, we've been told that filament extrusion 3D printers are not suitable for NHS as it's too porous. We have to use powder bed fusion. Is that correct? No.
I'll let you go first regarding your medical device.
Yeah, so we're not using FDM printers, which is the filament, which is the very thin piece of plastic that kind of gets melted into shape. I've actually got this. This is a hobby version, but it's called an SLA printer, and it works in a completely different way. So also with the addition of graphene, which we're actually going to spray onto the outside of these bodies, because all resins do decay over time, but the graphene will stop that process, certainly for the lifetime of this product. So actually doesn't really apply to us. There's a thing called SDS as well, which is a kind of a powder version of SLA, and this device can be made on those types of printers as well. This isn't an FDM product. It's the porting inside there is much too fine. The detail is much too fine to be used with an FDM type printer. So the quality, if you like, of the prints is a lot better, and particularly because we're using commercial printers to make it as well. It's going to be second to none. The tests we've done, it's actually working better than the primary system already, just on little hobby printers. So we're quite hopeful that actually it's going to smash the spec. It's not going to meet it. It's actually just going to smash it.
Impressive, mate. It's very impressive. So regarding regarding FDM, this is it's a slightly different process where melted plastic is pushed together. Now we're very fussy about print quality, and all our products go through a lot of stringent stress testing. We try to mitigate as much risk as possible with FDM. However, one thing that you just mentioned, it is a porous material. This is why these are only designed to be single use. They can be sanitized, but they're effectively designed to be single use, and they're there to be used as well as additional PPE measures. This isn't something that's going to protect you. This is something to use as well as a face mask, gloves, gowns, etc. This isn't just the single element you should be using. It's to bolster what you already have.
If I can add to it again, I'd just like to say that everything does go through post-production. So there is sanding, so there's no full lumps and bumps. We specifically design things not to have little cavities, etc. For exactly that reason, we coined the phrase COVID trap whenever we try and have that. But on top of all that, that is why we're so, we only need one sanitization method. We use 3. We really don't want to have that problem. On top of all that, the person who gave that question, they said that they're not suitable for NHS. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and also the government is now on version 3 of their documentation that they sprung on us a few weeks ago. It does make specific referencing to 3D printing, to PLA. There's a few questions which I can see Paul's smile there. I won't go into some of the problems with those forms, but essentially there is nothing saying you cannot use 3D printing for this process. Originally, hospitals were doing their own risk assessments and so on. So the phrase, the NHS, this, that, or the other, it's never true, because there's only maybe 2 or 3 people at the top of the ladder who can make these decisions. It was down to the independent hospital. Now, government, BSI, etc., are working with us, and they are agreeing that 3D printing is the way forward.
Correct.
Brilliant. Great. So yeah, we're coming up to time. So I'm going to read out, it's more of a comment than a question, and it says, really inspiring. Thank you so much. Truly inspirational human beings being boss. And I would definitely second that, and I'm sure everyone else does. And I think everyone thinks you've been doing an incredible job, especially all the things you're having to struggle against to be able to continue. And yeah, it's just amazing, really. So I just want to give you all a chance to say one last thing, if there's anything else you want to add, or if there's anything you've learned. Joe, maybe you want to start?
Can I just say a few people to thank?
Yeah.
The Friends of Bristol Eye Hospital did a really generous donation, as did Judy Cropper, who's one of the nurses we took to Pfizer's to BRI, and Adele Bishop was the senior nurse there, and we organised with her. We took some there in the initial couple of weeks. Caroline Wright, who's my friend, who's a nurse consultant, and then yeah, just the whole voluntary team as well. Loads and loads of thank yous.
Great. Simon?
Yeah, echoing what Joe says, really, is I mean, that is, it's the people that are behind the whole thing, really. You know, I've had the spark and the idea, but there's absolutely no way I could get where I am at the moment. You know, I'm not there yet, but where I've got to already, without all the people that are behind me. And I particularly want to thank my mum, who lives with me, bless her, who's just been great. You know, I've been getting up at 5:30 in the morning, and at 10 o'clock at night I'm still working. And she, you know, I have bipolar disorder as well, and there's several times she said to me, look, you just need to stop and take a you know, just ease back a little bit. There's also things like dinner has just appeared in front of me. You know, I've been working in the kitchen on the kitchen table and not even realised she's been there, never mind cooking dinner. I've been working away, and this plate appears in front of me with some lovely food on it, and you know, it's just absolutely wonderful. And there's been lots of friends as well that have been really supportive. You know, it is tough. You know, it can be really tough. There are some lovely moments as well. I've had some really nice comments through people that I don't know, which has been a really touching one. You know, people that have got in touch with me that don't have to get in touch with me, and some lovely comments. And then the team behind me, you know, everybody that's working so hard to try and get this done. I've had a lot of support from business networks within Bristol. There's a lot of free advice out there if you go and look for it. And I'd recommend to anyone that's going to start up their own business in Bristol, it's a really vibrant innovation hub. And just go for it, follow your dream and just go for it, because it is possible. You know, I'm proof positive. I've been salaried all my life till I was 55. And now I'm following my dream. I'm pretty skint, but I couldn't be happier. You know, I could not be happier. You know, it's joyful, and I just think it's great what you guys have done. You know, Joe with the initial response, because it was obvious that you know, without trying to get too political, it was obvious that things weren't happening like they should do. And then I think the pandemic, like Joe acknowledges, have really taken that on to another level now as well. You know, and they're providing something that is really, it's a product. You know, it's an actual product. It's not something that I mean, you can't call it PPE, but it almost is really. I know you can't do that, but it's to that standard, and that's really inspiring as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to KWMC. Is it Knoll West?
Yes. Yeah.
Knoll West. Yeah, thank you for today. That's just great.
Great.
So over our side, I would like Paul to handle the thank yous, but we are a non-political group, absolutely non-political. In fact, the only rules really inside the factory, other than wearing a PPE, is no politics, no religion discussions. But I can't possibly get away with another live stream without saying something controversial. And there's Paul shaking his head. I just want to say watching the post-Brexit speech and being a little bit tentative but quite inspired about Boris's speech about innovation within the UK and the growth of industry. But Then COVID-19 happened. We did end up innovating. We did move on a little bit, but the biggest thing holding us back is not logistics, it's not money, it is the red tape. I really, really hope that this project and your projects also inspire the next generation to start doing home manufacturing, to 3D print everything from food through to your toothbrush. Why not? But at the moment, there's so much red tape out there, it needs to change if we're going to become what we've been promised we're going to become by the Prime Minister. That's all I have to say on that. Paul, we'd like to do the thank yous.
Sorry, I got a little bit nervous then. I know what normally comes. So I'll get rid of my nerves. I'll say the thank yous. It's impossible to say thank you to everybody that just helped us out. Initially, we were funded by my company that I work for, which is Lansdowne Place Wealth Management. They've been absolutely amazing in starting this up. So thank you to them. Thank you to all the volunteers and that. Without you guys, we couldn't keep going. We've met some amazing people. We've got people that deliver hot tubs to nuclear robotics engineers. We've got absolutely everybody, and it's impossible to say how to everybody. But yeah, it's been amazing, and we still want to keep going. We still want to keep producing. So we do still need funding. We do have a crowdfunding page. Ours is a little bit of a longer URL than yours, so I won't read it out. But without funding, we can't keep going, guys, and that's the sort of truth of the matter, really. We're completely self-funded. I've been working full-time throughout this, all this as well, which has been quite tough. So I better say thank you to my wife as well for putting up with me. So yeah. And by the way, you said some really nice things in your little closing thing there, and it kind of resonated really well. So thank you.
I think hopefully you'll still be able to see the comments if you do look back at this video on our YouTube, by the way, guys, and there's some other ones up there as well. Some really nice comments, so do have a look. And yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a big clap. Thank you so much. And yeah, see you again next time for our next Inspire Talk, and I'll just pop the links up for the last minute or two. But thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.